There are many ways known in occultism which facilitate the transformation of an impulsive type of man into a higher one, that is, the conscious type, and therefore offer more possibilities for spiritual advancement. But for that we must first know the characteristics of a man's impulsive life. There are three main lines. A. For the instinctively impulsive man, most attention should be placed on his food. We have to know the role of willful abstention from food. In many cases, a temporary abstaining is useful, because it allows the intestines to take rest. Therefore, it gives the higher organs more economical use of the nervous fluids, allowing for more spiritual activity. It is well known that the lack of food, or fasting, tunes a man's consciousness to the spiritual world, but too long a fast is, of course, harmful for the physical body. The best times for the taking of food must be left to everyone's own particular conditions. Anyway, in the West, as well as in the East, there are times for meals which are a matter of long-established custom, and occultism, at least the practical kind, such as Hermetism, generally does not interfere with them. However, we may say more about the various kinds of food which are suitable for different climates and people. Here I am treating the subject in the traditionally accepted Hermetic form, quite apart from my personal opinion, which may differ from that of tradition. I believe that a vegetarian diet can also be suitable for temperate climates, although Western occultism declares that a full vegetarian diet should only be used in tropical countries. Under cooler conditions, strictly vegetarian food is taken by magicians when preparing themselves for magic operations, which require them to have a special peace in their animistic centers, without reducing the activity of the instinctive centers. It is well known that vegetarian food fosters instinctive moods, while meat creates animistic passions. In tropical countries, the byproducts of a meat diet are well substituted by the richness of the astral solar emanations. So we can say that normal vegetarian food can be taken for up to 40 days, while a strictly vegetarian diet, consisting only of fruits and vegetables cooked in water, without salt, should not last for more than 7 days. The foregoing refers principally to magicians. If we are compelled to use meat as a food, we cannot dispense with due caution when eating it. Meat often contains bad astral. That is, it is often magnetically bound with the phantom, lower part of the astrosome, of the animal, frightened, angry, or full of hate during the process of hunting and killing. We should not forget that a phantom directs the process of decomposition and the returning of the dead body to nature. How unfavorable it would be for your body if in its stomach, involutionary work is being done on the substances in it by a foreign phantom, which belongs to the dead animal. I think I have expressed my thoughts clearly enough for the reader to draw his own conclusions for himself. In order to avoid the incarnation in us of bad astral fluids, tradition recommends that, before eating meat, we should mentally pronounce some cetrums in order to fortify our will in self-defense, and some mantrams for expelling the bad astral from the food. Hermetists say that the question of the sentimental character of vegetarianism does not exist at all, because vampirism exists in every manifestation of life, and is the basic rule for the creation of living forms. It can be found not only in the eating of vegetarian food, but also in the breathing process. Some believe that they can reach higher states of spirituality by way of asceticism, extreme abstinence in everything, because the great teachers of humanity were ascetics. But because the highly advanced being, dedicated exclusively to spiritual work, takes, say, only a handful of rice for food, it does not necessarily follow that ordinary men can do the same, not until they too are capable of the same inner effort as the spiritual teachers, and able to meditate like them. An anchorite, merged in contemplation, can do without any food containing, for example, phosphorus, but a professor or preacher, who speaks publicly and reads and writes a great deal, cannot do likewise, for his food must contain something to replace the phosphorus lost by his mental work. Finally, we may hint at the fact that for an instinctive man there are also needed certain stimulating substances. Food by itself may be good for those who do not need any quick, periodical release of nervous energy, but for those who have need of this, it may sometimes be necessary to use some stimulants to make the blood dynamic and help to borrow more energy from the nervous centers. Without personally recommending any of the following substances, I will mention them according to tradition. Physical stimulants are coffee, tea, alcohol, hashish, opium, and morphine. Coffee and tea are a typical binary. Coffee corresponds to the negative pole. It stimulates sensitivity. How does it work? Firstly, coffee makes digestion easier, taking and using fluids for that process. 2 or 3 hours later, it again makes a loan for the sphere of the intellectual susceptibility easier. The reaction to the coffee sets in about 5 hours after using it, and results in a diminishing of that susceptibility. Tea, as the positive pole of the binary, makes digestion more difficult, and for the duration of the delay in that function, it assists in realization in the intellectual realm to the extent of the nervous energy not used for digestion. The reaction after drinking tea is a prolonged removal of intellectual fluids in order to repair the delay in digestion. Sleeplessness after using strong tea is not a reaction, but a phase of its activity. One wants to think, but not to sleep. Reaction comes later. This binary can be well neutralized by alcohol, with its short but strong action in the stimulation of susceptibility, as well as of activity. It can be taken when one needs to have speed of understanding and skill in replies, but it cannot be taken repeatedly. Opium and morphine dull the susceptibility to action of the nervous centers which distribute the fluids, and in that way they create the illusion of non-tiredness. But food does the same. Less experimental data is available about the action of hashish, which is supposed to act by lessening the ties between the physical and astral, often giving an illusion of exteriorization, whereas opium and morphine really assist it.